Hello, welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. I'm Michael Mann and welcome to our comprehensive roundup of what is Britain's biggest battleground in biking right now. It's the 2020 mid-range adventure scene. So it's a scene that's really taken off. It's exploded over the last decade or so, understandable. The manufacturers have been throwing their resources, their experience, their R&D, and a lot of them have got at least one, maybe two, often three different models for you to choose from. And they're practical, they're comfortable, they're economical. You can go for B-road blast, Sunday messing around, touring around Europe, off-road, gravel road, all sorts. They cover all the bases. Now, 2020 has seen three models upgraded particularly. We've got Honda's Africa Twin, we've got Suzuki's V-Strom, it's now the 1050 in name only, and you've also got the Triumph Tiger 900. So here to help me and to help you decide on what's best for you and your situation, I've got two very experienced journalists, two guys who contribute a lot to BikeSocial, Simon Hargreaves and Luke Brackenbury. Gents, come on in, join me. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
It's like we're only just meeting up, even though we found ourselves here on a gravel road.
Yeah.
All right, boys, so mid-range adventure bikes. Simon, you are mega experienced on this and these three especially. You've done launches, you've done UK miles, you've ridden all of the competitors, both previous generations and the current generations. But first of all, what in your mind, what's a mid-range adventure bike?
It's such a contentious term, isn't it? Mid-range. You can't please people with it because they say, well, 1000cc, that's not a mid-range bike. So you can call it mid-range or mid-capacity or middleweight, whatever it means. But it's, for me, what it is, it's an engine that's around about 1000cc. And okay, the V-Strom and the Africa Twin get a free pass because they're more than 1000cc, but they haven't got a bigger brother above them in the range. Yeah. Whereas with, say, the 850 GS, you've got the 1250, and with the 790 Adventure, you've got the 1290 Super Adventure. So I think it's got to be around about 1000cc because that kind of is technically in the middle. And also in terms of the power, I think around about 80 to 100 horsepower, maybe a little bit more. So it's not in that kind of 130, 150, 160 of the Ducati Multistrada Enduro. And I think the other thing that's really, really important is the front wheels. They've got to have 19-inch front wheel or a 21-inch front wheel, but it's really, to be an adventure bike, it's got to have wide spokes, I think. That's quite important for me too. So I think that's my definition of what a middleweight, mid-class, mid-capacity adventure bike is. Do you think the whole class has grown because of sort of the vanity of what comes down from the GS originally? What looks good on the road, it's bold and it's buxom. Definitely. I think there is a sort of a halo effect. But I think the big difference with these middleweights, and the reason that every manufacturer makes one as opposed to those kind of big bore adventure bikes, is because at that larger capacity, BMW have kind of got the market sewn up. The GS dominates it so much. I think the other manufacturers think, well, there's not an awful lot to be gained in that market. You've got fighting against this overall champion, whereas at this end of the market there is no dominant force, so it's kind of all up for grabs. So that kind of dominating effect hasn't happened yet. So Suzuki's V-Strom could be just as popular as the Africa Twin, could be just as popular as the Tiger. There's room for everyone. Yeah, and there's plenty of options on each of them, aren't there? Premium features, not necessarily premium price tag. Luke, let's bring you in, man. So you were there at KTM when they were doing a lot of development work on the 790 Adventure R, and probably even the 1050, 1090 during that kind of era as well. So you've done a lot of work with these. Well, let's bring it down to the mid-range, back to the mid-range. But what's your take on whether they should be that kind of differential between on and off road?
It's a road rider's class, in my opinion. It needs to look the part. You know, I've got an adventure bike. It can do that. It's got the tech, but reality, you're going to spend most of the time on the road. But you want it to be able to say, yes, I can take it off road. I can do that. I can explore the world. But yeah, you want the tech. You don't want the big horsepower. You want to be able to take the luggage, the passenger on there easily, and boast that you could do that. But in reality, you're going to stick to the road. So you want all the gizmos, all the electronics to put the road miles in.
Yeah, and the engine bars and the panniers, and you want every option, don't you?
Yeah. And they do come with a lot of tech. I mean, that's the other thing about these bikes, because it is such a competitive sort of area. These are almost flagships in the sense that they get the high tech first. If you want your 6-axis IMU, or you want, I don't know, cornering ABS, these bikes tend to get it first, which is, you know, again, that sort of tech is quite an important selling point at this end of the market.
All right, well, we're going to go and test them on a bit of gravel road and the big proper main roads. What we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on these 3 bikes initially, then we're going to talk through all of the other bikes in this particular market, in this range, and we're going to probably reach a decision on what you should be riding for your needs. Shall we ride?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Next stop, Dakar. That's taken, what's that? 10th of a mile?
I've got 2 in then, just chatting away.
All right, boys, we've been through a tank full of jungle juice. Well, I'd say a tank full, but it's only a tank full on the Suzuki and the Triumph, right? Because the Africa Twin's it'll still go on for miles.
It will, yeah. It's a 25 litre tank on the Africa Twin, 20 litres on the other 2.
I was going to say, let's start with that then. How far have we actually been? Did you work it out with the trip, did we?
Yeah, I think
just over 140 miles.
Just over 140 miles, and the reserve light came first on the V-Strom.
Yeah.
130?
Yeah, it was about that.
Yeah.
And it was close to the Triumph, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the Africa Twin will go on for a little bit more.
It's got a 5 litre bigger tank, it's going to go on a bit longer.
And the range still says about 100 miles to go, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
So it's pretty good going.
Yeah.
Mind you, it is top heavy, isn't it? It's got that big tank and it carries its weight all the way at the top. Now, well, let's start a little mini conclusion here with these 3 bikes ridden today. So these are the 3 newbies for 2020.
Yep.
Should we start with engine performance, engine character?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
We've got a V-twin, we've got a parallel twin, and we've got a triple.
Yeah, the triple with its new T-plane wobbly crank. Exactly, yeah. Well, for me, I was really intrigued to find out how the Tiger compared to the other 2, because I've ridden the V-Strom and the Africa Twin quite a bit in the UK already, and not ridden the Tiger. And I think, you know, on spec, it should be it's a little bit down on power, 94 horsepower to over 100 for both of those, the twins. Smaller engine, 888cc, so you'd think it'd be making less torque, and it is. But for me, riding around on the road, I felt it was really, you're just a kind of a gear lower everywhere. But when you gun it, it's got just as much go in it as the other 2.
The Triumph feels like it's got more go than the V-Strom. The V-Strom feels laboured and restricted. It's really strange. Triumph, I thought would have a lot more bottom end than what it did. But like you said about the gearing there, it's quite strange. Smooth, you know. But
it's weird, isn't it? Because it's smooth up to that sort of 5,500 RPM, and then above that, up towards 6,000, it's suddenly that vibration starts to become.
There's a definite change there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's almost irritating. Does it irritate you?
Totally. Yeah, totally. So if you were doing a big cross Europe trip where you can go a little bit faster, say in Germany and that, and at the speeds in 6th gear where those vibes become annoying, that would be a long day in the saddle. So either you want to change the gearing, which 6th feels like it needs to be an overdrive. It's so close to 5th.
Yeah.
Or you have different clamps on it. But yeah, that would annoy me. That's the thing that
would annoy you. Would it annoy you?
Not necessarily. I don't. It depends on if you're going to be spending so much time in the saddle at those kind of speeds. Because 6,000 RPM in 6th gear is near enough 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
and I think you can get away with it.
It's lower in the RPM for me, from 5.3. I think
Yeah.
it's saying that you get those vibes in top gear. So
Everybody's different. This is the thing with vibration. It's you know, everyone's got a different opinion. It wouldn't. I don't think it would bother me particularly. I'd rather, like you say, it was a little bit taller geared in top gear, so that I was just pushing it to 105, 110 miles an hour.
It's quite an entertaining engine, though, isn't it? The
Yeah,
triple.
it is, and it's got a nice sound, a nice feel.
Yeah.
It's still got that triple silkiness to it.
Yeah,
you know.
It does feel quite linear is an overused word, but it does feel nice and smooth all the way through.
Yeah.
And that gearbox is good.
sounds great. That quick shifter makes it lovely.
Quick shifter, of course.
And,
yeah.
and it's smooth.
That's
You can be in, well, maybe that gearing's quite short, but you could be in 4th, 5th, 6th and pull, and it'll be smooth. And the Africa Twin's the same as that, but the V-Strom.
Yeah. I know what you're saying about the V-Strom. It has, in isolation, you don't ride it and think, oh, where's all the power gone? But when you ride it with the others and you suddenly realise that when you do open the throttle at 4,000, 5,000 RPM, there's not quite as much there as you thought there would be.
4th gear, like just you know, not long ago we're rolling past that van, 4th gear, 60 mile per hour, and it's like, it's a big induction noise, but there's not a lot of going. Like, this is a 1000cc V-twin. What's going
all
on?
mouth and no trousers.
Yeah.
And like you say, in isolation you'd be fine, but the Africa Twin just spins up and smooth and picks up from any gear, any revs, doesn't it?
It's a
quite
great engine.
Yeah.
I really like it.
It sounds good too.
But
I
in
think.
isolation, quite boring. I did a 515 mile day on the Africa Twin recently, and you know, it revs out a little bit early, but it's smooth. But then you jump between all three, and you're like, yeah, it's a really nice engine.
It's quite energetic, isn't it? It's got a lot of go in it. It's
Yeah,
quite
it's got a lot of go.
feisty and...
Feisty? Oh, you say feisty?
Well...
It's feistier than the V-Strom. That's laying down.
Exactly, yeah, it's relative, isn't it? Which is ironic because that engine is also, the Africa Twin engine has also been designed to go in a sort of one of those American four-wheel buggy type things. It's the same engine. So, you know, in the same way some of the other Hondas, like the NC 700 and 750, their engine originally sort of was designed, it's half a jazz engine, isn't it? Half a car engine. So it's like Honda are pretty good at multitasking with their engines and their design. But no, I think it's a really, really surprisingly good unit. I do like it. So for me, it's kind of between the Tiger and the Africa Twin, just for the engine side of it. I'm not sure which I'd pick. I mean, have you got a winner?
Yeah.
Just on the engine?
Maybe I'm slightly biasing away towards the Triumph only because of its quick shifter, and the combination of that, the ride quality. The way it picks up, the way you can get through the gears, it's nice all as a package.
We haven't got the quick shifter on this Africa Twin, but I've got one on the bike that we're running at BikeSocial, and it's you know, it's lovely. It's a slick thing, and you definitely miss out from having it. And the V-Strom definitely needs it, but I think if you like the triple character, it's not got as much bottom end as I expected. The 900, I really thought it was going to be really throaty at the bottom, but say it's smooth and it spins up nicely. But if I had to pick between the two, Africa Twin, and I really didn't think that before this morning.
Oh, here's a question: do you think any of them need more power?
No. Well, the V-Strom just.
The V-Strom needs gearing down. It needs an open can on it to make that. It kind of feels like it needs that V-twin to breathe a bit. You want it to feel like it's a TL1000 V-twin rather than a sort
that
of.
Engine's been around for a while. I've ridden it in old DL1000s and never thought, well.
I mean, it's been around in production since the mid 90s. So it was designed at the start of the 90s, effectively, when Suzuki first put a pen on a piece of paper. Early 90s. So yeah, they got their mileage out of it.
Let's move on.
But the quick shifter is standard on the Tiger Rally Sports. It's worth saying that. So on the Rally Sport, you get a quick shifter. The other, well, I don't even know if there's one available for the V-Strom.
I'd imagine not.
But with the Africa Twin, it's an extra. Sorry?
I'd imagine not.
All right, while we raise that point then, what are the prices for these three sitting here right now?
Oh, okay. So roughly, broadly, you're looking at about 11.5 for the V-Strom in XT spec. Then you're looking at 13. I think it's 13.1 for the Rally Pro for the Triumph. And then it's another sort of £1.5 on top of that for the Africa Twin.
Oh, big money.
And
what have they got on them that you wouldn't? Well, you would go into a shop and think, yeah, I really ought to have those bits.
I think the Tiger wins on spec. I mean, there's a huge long list of stuff. I can't remember it all.
Yeah.
But I think the Tiger wins on spec because it's got heated seats as standard. It's got the quick shifter as standard. It comes with heated grips as standard.
TFT dash.
TFT dash. It's got a load of electronic options.
Yeah.
I think that version comes. I can't remember whether it comes with a centre stand or not. I know the XT the V-Strom in
Yeah.
the XT spec does come with a centre stand,
Yeah.
which is a fairly big deal because they're all about 300 quid if you want to buy it as an extra,
Yeah.
which I think is ridiculous.
It needs that.
They should all come with centre stands. It's just it's insane
Mad,
that
isn't
they
it?
don't. But yeah, it's pretty heavily spec'd. You can spec up all of them to ridiculous levels, especially the Africa Twin,
Sure.
because you can go DCT, you can go semi-active suspension,
Yeah.
which isn't an option with the Triumph at all. So you can go even higher with that.
But panniers and top boxes on these bikes right now are above and beyond a standard price.
They're all extras, and again, there's a multitude of packages that you can buy. But again, you know, they're adding. I think with the Africa Twin, you can buy a package with the top box, and it comes with the engine bars and some fog lamps, and it gets up to about £2,000 for what they call the aluminium travel pack. Whereas the others, I think it adds about £1,000 or £1,500 to have the crash bars as extra, and the top boxes and the panniers. But again, you know, like I say, you can sort of pick and mix, go through the spec, and just go, I want one of those and one of those, one of those.
I don't think many people are going to walk out the showroom with those in standard spec, are they?
No, I don't think so. No. Definitely. I mean, again, it's worth saying the Africa Twin and the Tiger both have heated grips as standard. The V-Strom doesn't have heated grips as standard.
That surprised me.
Again, that surprises you, but it's like, at the end of the day, you know, it's £11,500 for a bike, and you wouldn't go and spend, I don't know, 30 grand equivalent on a car and go, it hasn't got aircon. Never mind. What can you do? It's just like it should have heated grips.
I think the lack of a quick shifter and a sort of modern dash really lets the V-Strom down. I mean, in isolation, if that's the budget you've got, you know, I think it's going to come down to budget why you go the V-Strom, not because I really want a V-Strom, and it'll keep going for ages, and it's a solid thing. But just those little details, that's living with it day in day out, especially when you jump between the others. Oh, you miss that. You expect that now from something. You expect a quick shifter, really. You expect a full colour dash that's easy to navigate through.
100%. Actually, yeah, speaking of which, all right, so let's talk about dash on each of them. Let's talk about the instruments and really about comfort.
Yeah.
Have you got enough time to talk about the Africa Twin and how I feel about that lack of intuitive
Apple
feature?
CarPlay?
I mean, Apple CarPlay is lovely, but you need to have, for the CarPlay to work, you need to have a headset.
Yeah.
Right. And not everyone's got a headset. I tell you what, you can charge your phone on the dash, lovely, but you're not going to charge your headset, are you? So if you had a real long day in the saddle, like I've had recently, and you run out of juice in your headset, you can't use the CarPlay. What's the point in that? That's stupid. It's like when they got to the instruments and the dash, they didn't involve any motorcyclists. They go, we can put all this stuff in, brilliant. And no one who rides a bike at the end of it signed it off. It's not an intuitive menu to navigate through. I said 515 mile day. I thought by the end of this day I'm going to be all over this. No, and I'm riding at night. Then the switchgear's not even lit up like it can be on a 125 Duke. So I'm still stabbing at buttons, and it's just And this morning, so it took a 1/10 of a mile for me to go Tiger. Brilliant. It's intuitive. You've got a toggle switch, forward, backwards, press it. Brilliant. Anyone can get that. You don't need a diploma like you do for the Africa Twin.
And backlit switchgear on the Triumph as well.
You know, you don't really want to be looking at it, especially at night, but still, if it is backlit, it does help. And that's, otherwise,
Are you finished?
I needed to get that off my chest. It's, you know.
I mean, I'm always a bit dubious about criticising a bike kind of just because I've jumped on it, on the usability or the immediacy of its human-machine interface. Because in my mind, if you've bought an Africa Twin, one of the things that you've bought it for, and one of the things that you appreciate, and one of the things you're going to sit down and learn, is how to use it. They have, you know, real people haven't got the attention span of idiots like us. They're going to take their time, figure it out.
You say that. I know a lot of mates older than me who buy bikes. They don't ever touch anything because it's a little bit of a faff. They're like, I'll just leave it in that mode.
If you're anti-technology, you're not going to buy an Africa Twin. Surely.
So it's all, you think the Africa Twin's hinging on its technology? Why
I don't think it's hinging on it, but if it's that important to you,
just make it easy to use.
You could just make it easy to use.
Just make it easy to use. Go and learn what Triumph are doing and what KTM are doing with a nice button forward and backwards, up and down. Hey, look at that. Don't even have to look at it.
Mate, I've done 4,000 miles on the Africa Twin, and admittedly there are some things that I still stumble to navigate.
Right, there you go. But I spent 5 minutes on the Triumph and I got it.
Okay, but the clocks are prettier than the Triumphs.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. And if you can't figure that all out, there's a real basic LCD that tells you what gear you're in and how fast you're going.
Speaking of basic LCDs, what about the V-Strom?
I tell you one thing on the Africa Twin. I don't understand why there are two.
Oh, because if you completely can't work it out, just look at the basic one.
And they match. So
It's because
we know which gear we're in and we know which speed we're in because it tells us twice.
Yeah,
and then
but
when
if
you
you
stand up and go on the gravel bit,
if you are in CarPlay, then you've got
can't
the
see
basics.
Although,
Depending
if
on
you're
what
using
you're looking-
Google Maps, won't it have the speed in the corner as well?
It won't tell you what gear you. No, it doesn't have that. Your speed in
Right,
Google
okay.
Maps. It tells you the speed of the road. But
Right, okay.
yeah, speaking of bum-based dash, the Astra GTE on the V-Strom, the LCD. You know, bless it.
it's a very old-fashioned machine, isn't it?
Bless
From its
it,
engine
indeed.
to its comfort to its spec.
But I think that's why you're going in now. Yeah.
But it's budget. But it's
tell me
that's
what- tell me
USP.
what
It's
Game
old
in and
fashioned, but it's not
Aston
retro, really, is it? It's
No.
kind of, if it had a pair of dials, you could almost forgive it.
Yeah.
Like a pair of analog clocks.
Yeah, I prefer that. I think.
I think I probably would prefer that as well,
There
yeah.
might be a generation of motorcyclists and buyers and consumers for this particular model who would love that because
Yeah.
it is basic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
think so,
exactly.
that's
It
what
tells you
they're
your
familiar
speed,
with.
your revs, and what gear you're in, and it's got some of the
Yeah.
acronyms. It tells you what what situation you're with those.
There you go. It's easy to use, you're right. It's easy to navigate. It's got one button that does all the functions.
Yeah.
Well, one more comment on the comfort side of things, specifically with the Triumph. I love how comfortable that seat is. It's like the seat is sprung.
It's like it's.
mega.
I just thought it's like it's cupping your balls and saying, "I've got these. I've got these, Luke. You carry on." And I thought, oh yeah, I do feel very comfort around
fact,
my
it's a
crotch
heated seat
area.
is
And it's
good.
heated as well
heated
as
up.
standard. Heated as standard.
Yeah,
Which is pretty good going.
It does. It cossets you nicely, doesn't it?
I do.
If it's
I-
plush like the your Diavel Street Fighter thing.
Yeah. I've ridden both the V-Strom and the Africa Twin quite a long way. And the Africa Twin, I think the seat is more comfortable than the V-Strom, but I think the V-Strom's riding position is probably a little bit more comfortable than the Africa Twin,
Yeah,
which doesn't help anyone.
I go with that. The Africa
Certainly
Twin's bars are really wide set as well.
Yeah,
It's a little bit more of a stretch, isn't it?
yeah. I've got to confess, I have tweaked the Africa Twin bars. I've just
You
turned them up.
but I agree with that. We talked about this
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Without, and they just need that because of the way the switchgear is.
you can
and
access the switchgear more
not the
easily.
horn and the indicator,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's funny on the Triumph. The bars feel like they're almost bent down. It's very much I'm a road bike. You feel you've got more weight bias over the front, and it's probably less comfortable over the miles. So you're probably right. The V-Strom might do it, but the seat on the Triumph's nice. But for me, the road position, I feel very much involved with the front end. I feel like I can push it on a bit harder.
Let's have a quick talk about screens.
I was going to say the same thing.
They really, really.
We've got the next 20 minutes, guys. We're talking about the screens,
Okay.
right?
Let's make it quick then. So screen, Africa Twin is terrible, it's too tall, it's their touring screen, and it's the same problem it had with the old model, which is that you look straight through. I look straight through. I don't think I'm a particularly odd size, if not shape. You look straight through the top of the screen, it's a real pain, and there's a lot of buffeting. I don't think it's very good, whereas I think the V-Strom, which is a much lower, stubbier, thicker sort of material, is a much, much better screen. But every time I jumped on the Triumph, I thought, wow, this is a really, really good aerodynamically. It's a really good
And
package for me.
someone's thought about it. You can one hand adjust it on the fly. You've got God knows what that thing is on the V-Strom. They just I don't know.
You can't
Someone
even
came up
adjust
to
it
them
while
with
you're
a
riding, can you?
box
It's
load of
struggle.
those clips that have never been used on anything else before, and you can't do. And you need two hands to do the Africa Twin. The best thing you can do with the Africa Twin is take it off and put it in the bin.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you're taller than me. On the seat on the lowest, where I feel more comfortable, again, you can't see
Just
through it.
looking through it,
At
though.
night, it's awful. If it gets the spots of rain, it doesn't clear them because of the profile on it, so you can't see through it then.
Yeah.
But if I put the seat on the highest, where I don't really want to be because my little child legs, then I can see just over it. I
That
want to cut
comment
about
you-
an inch, 2 inches
The
off
comment
it.
you made about taking the screen off, it's better. I have actually done that on the old version of the Africa Twin, doing a long motorway ride with the touring screen. It was so annoying. I took it off and taped a visor over the clocks. Much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
already got a visor, hasn't it, sort of thing?
It has got a little peaky thing in it. Yeah.
Which is almost like a sun protector, really, because
Yeah.
I think they added that for the previous model.
And to add to its misery, cleaning the thing, you've got to take it off to clean it because
You can't get underneath it.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah.
So the V-Strom you've got to adjust when you're completely stationary and off the bike.
yeah, you could have a go,
The
but
Africa Twin, you need two. Yeah, that'll be entertaining.
Two
Put it on
hands.
cruise control. Two hands, slide up and
yeah,
down.
cruise control again for that one. Don't recommend it.
And then the Triumph is just a one hand, dead
Yeah,
easy.
lovely.
Not your right hand,
Yeah,
with your
and
left hand.
Yeah.
It's got a nice profile. You can clean it all right.
Yeah.
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 So it's better aerodynamics and it's easier to use. So
Nice.
it kind of wins on that. straight
Yeah.
away.
Okay, handling on the road.
Handling.
Triumph.
So, okay, the Triumph, I think it sits nicely between the Africa Twin and the V-Strom. The V-Strom with its 19-inch front wheel is much more road orientated. It feels like it's got short travel suspension, hasn't got so much weight transfer. There's a slightly strange numb feeling going on when you're steering, which we've both picked up on, which I don't know if it's the tyres or whether it's something about the geometry of the bike, but
It
the
does want to
V-Strom.
fall on its side. It's
It's
quite
sort of-
happy to do that.
yeah,
but then there's this vagueness when it's on there. And,
Yeah.
and I said the same thing to you earlier. Like it's trying to come around when you're on a closed throttle. It's really strange.
Yeah. So it's definitely the most road orientated for me.
Yeah.
And the Africa Twin is the other way. It's got the 21-inch front. It's got long travel suspension. It's got a lot of high up weight. It's quite soft suspension. It's quite wallowy and flabbery. It sort of flaps about a bit. And so, yeah, it hasn't got all that confidence in the front end. And the Tiger, it kind of sits in between the two.
Yeah.
It's got the 21-inch front wheel. It's got a long travel suspension, but it manages its weight balance really well. It doesn't have the same sort of vague front end that the Africa Twin has got. But it has got more agile kind of trail bike, if you like, steering compared to the V-Strom. So
I found the Tiger, it drops pretty hard on initial braking and doesn't kind of regain its composure in a way. And the rear that we've got on that, there seems to be no rebound damping really, which
it feels odd at standstill, but riding it for me, it kind of felt like
it's okay. We had some really bumpy roads earlier, and it's really
does pump up
pulsing
and
and
down,
that
right, okay.
pump. But most of the day, it's been nice. It's the one I wanted to, when we had the roads coming out of Horncastle, I'm like, I want to be on this now, because the Africa Twin is a bit vague on the front.
I agree about the Triumph. Certainly, well, you can't disagree, can you? Because when you're at standstill and bouncing the thing up, you almost bounce up and down with one finger.
It's weird, isn't it?
But I didn't notice it too badly. After we bounced up and down, then I rode it, and I didn't notice it that much. It didn't worry me or concern me, especially in the corners. I felt fairly composed. The Africa Twin doesn't pretend to be anything other than a big off-roady touring-y bike, so I don't tend to worry, or I can't mark it down for its on-road presence or its cornering ability. I don't have much of a problem when you kind of chuck it into a corner. Yes, it dives a hell of a lot as soon as you touch the brakes. You almost headbutt the screen.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'd ridden the V-Strom, I commented on how vague's the word used, and I used the same thing earlier on about how the steering, it didn't seem to be connected.
Yeah.
Again, I'd go into a corner and I'd end up almost rolling off because I thought I was going to run out of road.
Yeah.
But there's three very different bikes there on the road, aren't there? You've definitely got a road-oriented bike with a V-Strom, and then at the other end with the Africa Twin, and the Tiger sits in the middle.
It does sit in the middle, and it's not a compromise. It's kind of pretty good at both.
Yeah.
I think on an awful lot of aspects, the Triumph is scoring points.
Yeah.
It's the Triumph's the only one I'd want to take off road. But the bits we've done today, it feels balanced. It feels neutral and natural. It's turning circle. Just when we're doing turning around for the video shots, you just feel happy, don't you? I feel really confident on that bike.
I mean, what about this? Is kind of one of those. This is really, really sort of subjective. What about the looks of the thing and the build quality of them? I mean, where do we stand on that?
I've got a point. I've got 2 points actually I want to make. One, look at them straight on. Africa Twin looks lush. It's just got those sort of devilly eyes that are staring at you, especially when you've got it in your rear view mirror and it's coming towards you. And the V-Strom looks a bit like some kind of demented minion with its single lamp. And then the Tiger, it looks like it's just got some Lego attached to it. But the second point I wanted to make was, in terms of its look, certainly when you're riding them, what you see in front of you, you've got this, Honda have clearly developed that screen with the Apple Play, and they've got the little lower screen, and they've got the visor, and thought, oh yeah, well this will all work nicely, and you've got a screen there. And there's this great big clutch cable that runs right across the middle of them, and you can't get it out of the way.
Oh God.
And the same actually on the Triumph. Now this is a company who made the Rocket 3, which is absolutely sublime to look at when you're sitting on it, because everything's just tucked away and it's so nice. And then on that, you've got this great big iPad screen thing that's glaring, and it's lovely because you can see it all and you can operate it all. And again, cables and leads, and it's just a bit ugly. So where in terms of the layout and in terms of the look from where you're sitting, I think the V-Strom's the tidiest, despite having the oldest looking navigation and screen.
Yeah, a room with no furniture, it looks tidy.
I'll tell you what it looks like. The Tiger looks like you've bought a Rembrandt and stuck it in an IKEA frame.
I think the Tiger looks quality. I mean, the gold suspension, the Brembos, it looks a classy thing. The Africa Twin's a real handsome bike, in terms of adventure bike. Over the years, I don't know how it's going to go down well, especially in the white frame.
Yeah, they'll get dirty
and the
quickly.
V-Strom's kind of got this. It has got that kind of Dakar look about it. You know, you can see it's almost a Marlboro paint job in there somewhere. You know, it's.
What about if you were to take any of those three from here on the coast of Lincolnshire to, I don't know, the northern tip of Scotland? What's your choice, Luke?
Yeah, I suppose if I can get the holy trinity of the Bluetooth head unit on my phone, no, Africa Twin. And I didn't think I'd say that, but I've done some big mile days on one of those, and it's, screen issues aside, big tank, nice and smooth, great engine, handles all right. I think if you try some different tyres, definitely, but yeah, that's the bike I'd take for the big schlep, and
Sure.
I wouldn't be upset on either of them for that, really. They are made for that, they'll do it, but Africa Twin easily.
So,
Where are we running from? Here to where?
northern tip of Scotland.
is it?
You can take whatever route you want. You don't have to be motorway all the way.
It's
You can ride it
interesting.
straight into an airplane.
So last year I did the NC500 on the 790 Adventure, the KTM, and that was quite a special ride because I did it in one go.
Because you keep watching it.
And I keep watching it. Yeah, I keep looking at myself. And so I often I've been riding these bikes thinking, which one would I take on that kind of ride? You know, which demanded a level of agility. It had to handle in the wet. I didn't need to think too much about whether I was going to lose the front or anything like that, and do lots of miles and have a big enough tank. And yeah, I think out of these three, I mean that extra 5 litres on the Africa Twin is a big issue for me. I know it sounds really trivial, but that would make on a long ride that would make a big difference.
You mean a positive thing?
Yeah, definitely. But I think overall, I'd take the Tiger. I think that's the
on
one.
the comfort, or just
Yeah,
because of
on
the quality of the ride?
comfort, on its agility, on the lack of thought that I have to give to getting it to go around a corner in the wet in Scotland. I think I'd have to, dedicate less brain space to worrying about that. It's the one that feels most secure to me, I think. So yeah, for me it would be the Tiger. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm caught in two minds between Honda and Triumph. I think my vote will go with the Tiger. For similar reasons. I think it's got much more versatility. I think from a day-to-day perspective, I'd feel much more comfortable and confident using it, pushing it around, parking it, getting on its side stand. The side stand, by the way, on that Africa Twin, as we all know, leans over so far.
It's ridiculous.
But with the usability of the dash, with just the riding experience, the comfort, the screen, all that package comes together, and it's got a premium value. If I own one of these, it would be very rare. I wouldn't say I wouldn't take it off road, but it would be rare, and therefore I think I could discount the Africa Twin on that basis.
Yeah, definitely agree on that on the off-road thing.
So, Tiger winner?
Yep.
Tiger winner?
This was just on riding it to the northern tip of Scotland.
Overall?
Tiger. Yeah.
Blimey, that's pretty.
That's quite conclusive then. So the newbies for 2020, we all vote Tiger.
Tiger
But-
Rally Pro.
Yeah, all right, specifically in that spec.
How many versions are there, Simon?
Many. I mean, if you include the GTs, there's the base model, then there's the GT Pro, then there's the base model and the Rally Pro. So that's 5 altogether. And there are about 6 different versions of the Africa Twin if you include semi-active suspension and DCTs.
How many versions of the V-Strom?
2. The base model and the XT.
XT.
And the XT is the one with the centre stand. A bit better electronics. Yeah. But they're part of a great constellation of middleweights. There's a load of them, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's plenty of options
Yeah.
from pretty much every manufacturer going as well. Why don't we find out where they sit, and if you were going to be looking for premium features or off-road ability or touring for, all of those different facilities or parameters, shall we have a look at how they all fit?
I think what would help us most would be a whiteboard.
Let's do it. Well, ta-da! Here we are. If school teaching met Blue Peter met Carol Vorderman, you could be Carol Vorderman today.
I'd love to be Carol Vorderman for a day. Thank you, Michael.
I'd like to have Carol Vorderman here.
And you're Richard Whiteley?
Well, maybe put a few pounds on first. Okay, so the evidence is clear. We've got what do you call this, an XY axis chart, a Gantt chart? No?
Yeah.
There's a clever name for it.
There probably is, yeah. We'll call it XY.
This is why I didn't do very well at school. Road versus off-road, low spec versus high spec, and specification is all about what?
It's about feature rich. It's not saying that it's low spec because it's really not a very good bike. It's not low spec in a performance sense. It's purely in terms of the number of features that the bike has got, the traction controls, the heated seats, the centre stands, all that kind of stuff.
So we've already talked about what is an adventure bike and about this category that we're discussing anyway. And there are several permutations, variations of each particular model.
There are so many. It's really hard. It's really complex. This video is long enough as it is. It'll take forever to go through them all. So we've kind of been as generic as we can and non-specific as we can. But as a broad outline, what we want to do is just try and illustrate where everything in this market, for want of a better word, where it all sits. And we've already determined that I think amongst the 2020 bikes, the Triumph Tiger Rally Pro version, which we've just ridden, is clearly, I think, our preference. So we will position it here because it definitely has a bit more off-road bias. Again, it's not to say it's not a good road bike, but that's roughly where
because it's got the 21-inch front, because it's got the wide spec wheels, and because it's called the Rally Pro and not the GT. So which is why it's south of that line.
I mean, we've steered away from the GT, like I say, because it doesn't quite fit the category.
Great. Are we sticking with Triumph?
Because there is the Triumph Tiger 900 Rally, which is a slightly lower spec. So it's not sort of rocket science to work out that it sort of fits
along the same line.
Along the same sort of line, but it's slightly lower spec. So we'd be looking somewhere around about there in its kind of overall position.
Have they've both got the extra rider mode, haven't they, for going off-road?
Yes, they have, Let's just bring that down a bit. There we go. That's about right. And then I think, in terms of the sort of the 2020 bikes, the next on the list probably is the Africa Twin, I guess.
Makes sense.
So if we pop this on there, so
almost it's too many bells and whistles for being an off-roader.
Yes, I mean, and given the weight and everything.
So it's more about stature and road presence.
And again, it's tricky because there is a semi-active option, so you could say it should be higher spec than that, but it doesn't come with heated seats. It does come with heated grips. Again, there are pros and cons.
It's almost there.
Don't think off the top of my head, I don't think it comes with a centre stand, and I think the Triumph Tiger does.
Not a standard. So, it's an optional. It's an official option.
So there you go. That's the difference of the centre stand, I think. But that's where it sits. And then you've got the base spec Africa Twin.
So more off-road than road.
It's more off-road, definitely, but probably not quite as much as the two Triumphs. So that's where we are with that. And then the third 2020 bike, is the V-Strom, of course, which is.
Have we got enough space on the board for all of the bikes in this market?
I haven't tried that out. We're going to find out, aren't we? And then the V-Strom, well, it's a road bike. It's with a 19-inch front. All right, it's got the spoke wheels, but for me, somewhere around about there in the whole scheme of things.
Am I allowed to interfere?
Of course you can. There might be something else there. Okay, so what have you done? You've said it's slightly lower spec.
I think so. Certainly by comparison to these. These are all very close together.
I
think that's some way off.
That is a
but
fair
it has its own appeal. We've already talked about its appeal and where it fits and who it might be suitable for.
And then I guess if we start off with the bikes that the sort of the non-2020 bikes, I guess if we start off at the two extremes, one of the easiest to sort of categorise and place would be Yamaha's Ténéré 700 because it only just makes it into that kind of adventure bike category in the sense that it's the smallest engine, probably the least capable sort of on the road, but the most capable off-road. Fairly feature light. You don't get an awful lot. You don't get IMUs and traction control. You just get wheels and an engine and a frame and some cool styling and a really, really good off-road bike.
And that's very deliberate, wasn't it, by Yamaha to do that? That's what they want. That's exactly what they're aiming for.
That's where they were going. And then I suppose at the opposite end to the Ténéré, in terms of its sort of spec and its road ability, is the Multistrada 950S, which hasn't got an awful lot of off-road in its genetics, but it does qualify because it does come with the wire spokes. It does come with a 19-inch front. It does come with semi-active suspension, as standard, so that makes it pretty high spec.
And Ducati themselves have several different variations in that range, don't they? In that 950 Multistrada range,
Yes.
and they say that this is more, then that's more.
Yeah, exactly. But I like it because, I mean, you know, in this market, I think the wire spokes are really important for that kind of off-road cred, even if you never use it off-road, and it hasn't got much off-road in it.
I love that bike.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
I really like it too. I mean, you got to say, I absolutely love all the bikes in this category. They're all really good.
Yeah.
They've all got different strengths and weaknesses, which is partly what makes it so, you know, so competitive, I think. And a good example of that will be the Moto Guzzi's V85 TT.
A bike you know very well, having spent many hours in that saddle.
I spent far too many hours in the saddle, and really, you know, you can get the most from it by not actually sitting on it and just looking at it.
I still can't look at it without thinking of McDonald's.
I'm not sure if Moto Guzzi would appreciate
Probably
that,
not.
but anyway, so you know, it's started to move off down that kind of retro inspired off-road thing, of which, you know, there are things like Triumph's Scrambler
Of course,
range, which
yeah.
we haven't really featured. But so for me,
Like I said, we need more board.
yeah, we do need a bit more board. I mean, it's not quite as feature rich as the other guys. I mean, it has got quite a nice dash. It's got a better dash probably than the V-Strom, but it is a little bit rudimentary in sort of other areas. It's not particularly feature rich, and it's, in terms of its off-road ability, maybe a little bit more down here, but not a lot.
I was going to say, if you had to choose one of these, either the V-Strom or the Moto Guzzi, to go and do a bit of, I don't know, green laning, let's say.
Yeah. I'd change the tyres on both, first of all. Probably I'd take the Guzzi, but for no particular reason other than when I pulled up at the pub at the end of the green lane, it's more of a talking point perhaps. I don't know. There's not a lot in it. Off-road, they you know, yeah. I think in terms of ground clearance and power delivery, there's not much in it.
Maybe because it's shaft drive.
Yes, that would be a good counting against the off-road probably. So yeah, so that's where the Guzzi sits.
Okay. What else have the Europeans got to offer?
Well, so now we get to the KTM, I guess, which is one of the sort of, I mean, it's crazy to call it because it was what, a 2019 model, was it? But it's
790 Adventure. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but it's still, somehow it seems like it's one of the sort of the grand elder statesmen of the category almost. And of course, we've got technically there are 3 models, but we only really worry about 2. There's the sort of the base road spec 790 Adventure, and then there's the 790 Adventure R, and then I think it's the 790. I get confused now. Adventure R Rally? Yeah, which we haven't featured, but I think you can guess. So if we start off with sort of the base road bike, I guess, you know, in terms of its sort of features and where it sits, it's definitely more off-road biased than these fellas up here. And in terms of its feature spec as a base model, when you buy it, again, you know, it's got traction control. It's got some of those. It's got cornering ABS, I think. But it hasn't got heated seats, it doesn't come with heated grips, you know, there's a few things that it hasn't got. So I guess in terms of its features, it would probably sit around there, and then it would be no surprise really that the KTM Adventure R would probably sit somewhere about there because it's much more off-road orientated. I would say it's probably slightly more off-road orientated than the Tigers, not a lot in that, but that's probably, having ridden them all, that's where I'd put it.
Okay.
I guess.
It's interesting that the Ténéré is so much more off-road biased than the Adventure R in that case.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, in terms of off-road, yeah, there's that much in it on a vertical axis. So that definitely, if I was going off-road, I'd take the Ténéré, then I'd take the KTM. Tight choice between the Tiger, and then Africa Twin probably after that. But that's where we'll be looking.
Right,
and
we still have some space.
Yeah, we're okay. I think we're going to have enough room because now we've only got about 20 different versions of BMW's 850 GS to put in here. So this is a really complicated one to do. I think this is the hardest of the lot to sort of work out where it all fits. So I guess
how many have you got there? 4
of them all together. So we've got the F850 GS base spec, not the Adventure, smaller tank. Surprisingly, they aren't very well spec'd from brand new. Yeah, it's kind of there, I think.
Okay.
So it's not, you know, it's maybe that way a little bit. You kind of agree, because I mean you're quite familiar with all of these bikes, but you're familiar with the GS as well. Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of features, I think it's got even less features than the Guzzi, or it's roughly on par. It's certainly not as feature rich as the KTM's. And in terms of its off-road roadability,
it's definitely north of that line, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking about comparing it with something like the Adventure Sports.
Yeah. So somewhere around about there.
Because I know what's coming next.
God, what's coming next?
the adventure spec.
The adventure, again, base spec. It's kind of...
So if only it was computerised.
It's there, sort of.
I mean, a lot less interesting.
You see, this is what I had the V-Strom over here. So I was trying to shuffle them that way. It's kind of...
They can overlap.
It's you know, I would say it's got more spec in the sense it's got a bigger tank. That's kind of about it, really.
Fair enough.
So you can pretty much have them top. And it's probably because it has got a bigger tank, it's probably slightly less off-road biased than the standard GS.
It's going to be so interesting to see what everybody thinks of this chart.
It is, yes.
There's going to be plenty of opinion, aren't there?
Yeah, that shouldn't have gone there, it should have gone somewhere else.
You got it.
Then we've got the F850 GS Sport, which is, I think, kind of spec'd up roughly somewhere around about... It's more spec'd. It's not quite as fully spec'd as the Tigers.
Yeah.
But the standard GS Sport, again, I'm running out of room a little bit here. Kind of there. It's kind of almost slap bang in the middle, really.
And we're deliberately not getting into price here either. Right.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have to kind of try and write price off because it's almost like we need an extra axis for that. And we haven't got a hologram.
We need a 6-axis iron.
Exactly.
6-axis board.
Yes. So I've sort of popped it in the middle there because, I mean, it kind of is more off-road orientated, if only because it comes on slightly more off-road orientated tyres. And then we've got the GS Adventure Sports, which is the sport with the bigger tank. And again, I'm guessing if I would probably have that somewhere there because I think it is a bit more feature-rich than the standard GS. I think it might come with a few extra bits. But anyway, that is the BikeSocial middleweight adventure bike board of power.
There we are. So if you're into something that has got all the bells and whistles and is road oriented, Ducati.
Absolutely.
If you want something that has got all the bells and whistles and can go off road, then it's the Triumph Tiger. That's the Rally Pro specifically, the new 900, and so on and so on. And you don't need to read them all out. Yeah, but there's some gaps there.
There are a few gaps.
There are while there are so many of that mid-range, so-called mid-range or mid-capacity, adventure market. There's still a lot of those gaps we filled with the bigger ones or the smaller ones.
Yeah. I think if the most obvious gap is down here, I guess. So if a manufacturer wants to bring out a super high spec but super off-road orientated, I mean, almost in a way that Yamaha have done with the Ténéré 700. What's the special called they just brought out? Is that called the Rally as well?
Probably so.
Probably something like that, yeah, which is exactly the same spec. But if that had all the bells and whistles, that would be up here somewhere as well. And I think they've come for us.
That's it, yeah. Come to take us away.
Yes.
Do you think there's any argument with Triumph might say, hang on a minute, we've put all the gizmos on there, we've made it as high spec as we possibly can, and we think it's marvellously off. Do you think they've got an argument to say, hang on, that should be much further down there? Do they want it to be? I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought they would. I think they'd probably be quite happy with it being where it is, because that seems to mean a kind of a sweet spot. It's extremely high spec. It has more off-road capability than most of the other bikes.
Sure.
So that combination, I think, is quite a winning combination, especially when you consider that although it doesn't fit on this chart, they have got the GT and the GT Pro as well. They've kind of covered all their bases.
Of course. And the majority of these bikes, we know full well that they're going to spend the majority of their lives on road anyway.
They are, yeah.
Still, it's unfair to tarnish all buyers with the same brush.
Yeah. So that's the overall picture.
Good. All right.
I think we invite comment. We'd like people to leave comments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
down below and tell us what they think.
Hopefully there's going to be plenty of comments. There's certainly a lot to talk about and to chew over there, definitely. Good. All right. Thanks very much, Carol.
No problem, Richard.
And thank you for bearing with us and joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. All the reviews of these bikes are on bikesocial.co.uk. As Simon said, just please get in touch. Comment away, let us know what you think. If we're missing anything, if you want them moved about, be interesting to see what you think. But yeah, hopefully that gives you an indication of what it is that you might want to buy or how you want to buy it. Thanks again. See you soon. Constellation.
Should I just say that? Should I just say there's a constellation different? That work?
That's what he said. Yeah. Go from that
how does
Should we
this all
see how they fit alongside
Well, I don't know. I think
the rest of the market?
Yeah, that should be its camera, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
You're going to say that.
Might as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you've got 2 angles at least.
Got 2 angles,
of
and
course,
that's 4K, so you can.